Well, hello. Welcome back to Unhinged Red Flags, Episode 2.
I'm Kylie.
I'm Lacey, the red flag.
I'm unhinged. So, I don't know if any of you guys have heard the new song by Paris Paloma.
It's called Labor.
And I don't know about any of you, but it really hits home for a lot of women out there.
I think a lot of women, yes, relate to it, but I do think there is a subsection of men who can also relate to it because they also deal with women who have had who have toxic traits or narcissistic personalities. So who have dealt with the abuse in the past.
It's definitely not just women out there,
Yeah.
though. In the majority, I would have to argue that it is 100%, not 100%, but it is in the majority women who are pushed to their breaking points all the time and then called the problem. So that's what we're going to talk about today is, Paris Paloma says it 100%, and that song's going to be on repeat in the back here. So, we've all gone through it in one way or another. If you're a younger girl, I hope you take this to heart if you haven't experienced it yet and you don't allow it to happen, but it's a slippery slope.
Very much so.
As women, we're raised to please,
take care of the house, take care of
the
our
kids,
partner, the kids, have a job. We're told that we have to do it all. The weight of the world is literally on our shoulders from a very young age.
And for our generation specifically, because I feel like the younger generation coming up is being taught a little bit differently. We're the ones teaching that generation and showing them a much different side of things. But for our generation, I'm a younger millennial. I'm one of the younger crowd.
I'm kind of an elder millennial.
So
I'm 34
and I'm 28. So I'm right at the cusp. So,
and I think us as moms who have dealt with these toxic traits and personalities in relationships, and not just intimate relationships, but in relationships throughout our entire life with everybody that's come into our life. Not everybody, but a good majority of them.
But a lot of them.
I think as moms now, it is our job to break that generational curse.
And a large part of that is recognizing our own trauma as a part of it, and vice versa. It's very difficult for us to say no. So, today I think we're going to do a 3-part series on this. Today we're going to focus on toxic masculinity and narcissism in men. And then next week when we're going to talk about narcissism and
women,
toxic traits in women. And then the following week we will focus more on how to recognize and self-reflect, because that is probably one of the biggest things. Is in order to heal, you have to, not to sound corny or anything, but the first way to accept or to heal a problem is to acknowledge it and accept it
and understand, get to the root of where it comes from. Something I tell my kids daily is that you can't build on a shaky foundation. And as an elder millennial, my foundation is shaky. And going to therapy 2 times a week for the last
years,
3-4 years, and healing's not linear. It's gonna come in waves. You're gonna have great healing moments, and then it's gonna come crashing down, and you're gonna feel like you're getting nowhere. But to my kids, you have to have a solid foundation. So I think getting to the root of that issue is where the healing journey starts.
It really does. And on top of that, accepting and not being afraid of voicing that you have trauma, because a lot of people think that trauma and therapy and mental health, it's all dirty
taboo
words. We shouldn't talk about it. They shouldn't be acceptable conversation at the dinner table, whereas, you know, you and I, how often do we talk about our mania and how we're feeling
A lot.
a little bit unalivey?
A lot. And even with my kids, I mean, my kids are 15 and a half and 9 and a half. And it is a daily thing where we check in with each other emotionally. Like, where are you at? Are you okay today? Like, I'm not going to push you to talk to me, but if you want to talk about your feelings, or if you're having a bad day, like, I'm here. It's okay. It's not taboo and not something that needs to be swept under the rug like it has for years.
100%. And I mean, I have a 4-year-old little girl
who is very self-aware.
Who is extremely self-aware. And, you know, that all comes from a foundation of telling her that it's okay to feel the way that she feels, but it's not okay to project it to others. And, you know, teaching her how to walk through those big emotions and how to regulate herself until she can calm down enough to actually discuss them and why she's feeling that way. So
kind of spinning off of your lessons with your daughter, and it's okay to feel them, it's just not okay to project. Like, I tell Mikey and Lily constantly, it's okay to feel those feelings. You can go visit them, you just cannot live there. Go and visit, identify, work through it, but don't camp there, because you will do more harm than good. It's that we got to work through it process. That is a huge step that I think a lot of people, like, they're self-aware enough to know, they just don't want to put in the work.
And I mean, a big part of, you know, why our kids are able to do that and not camp there is because, I mean, what did you tell me yesterday when we were on a phone call? And I'm going to put a disclaimer right here. We're on the phone with each other more than not during the day. I don't work during the week. She works from home, and if she's on a break or not on calls with patients or whatever, we're on the phone with each other because body doubling is a real thing. Mm-hmm. And we'll touch on that in another day and another time. But, you know, yesterday, first thing out of her mouth when we got past the introduction was, I'm cranky. And, you know, that's all it had to be. We didn't really have much conversation. We just needed to be on the phone with each other so that we weren't going off our rockers. Mm-hmm. You know.
Was it Sunday? I was having a sad girl day Sunday.
Oh, yes. And I work all day. I work all day Saturday and all day Sunday.
She messaged me. She's like, you hate me. And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, you haven't spoken to me all day. As soon as I got that message, I called her. And she's like, I go, what do you mean? She's like, you haven't spoken to me all day. I'm like, you were at work.
I don't care. You can snap me.
So, and then I was like, I'm just having a sad girl day. I was laying right here on the couch. I was just being a bum in my feels.
We live 4 minutes from each other, by the way.
It's 10 o'clock at night, and I'm just not feeling it. And she was like, why don't you come over? Like, I have Snicker.
Oh, yeah, I had apples. I still have a lot of apple Snicker salad left. A girl can only eat so much.
Should have brought some over.
But anyways, but I was like, come get some apple Snicker salad. And she was like, no, I don't want to. And I was like, I've got no baked cookies. And then she was on her way. And then we stayed on the phone the entire way you were to my house. Literally, as she's walking in my house, we're still on the phone.
There for 2 hours. I had a good cry session. You joined me in that cry session.
Well, if you would stop making me cry.
Well, my son was having a sad
boy day.
Sad boy weekend.
Yeah.
And he was in his feels, and he suffers from anxiety and depression. And he was just, the unaliving thoughts had come through to him, as they do every so often. And I think for him, he feels like it's taboo to talk about, or was. We're getting to the point where he is now opening up and feeling comfortable talking to me. But I was feeling very defeated as a mom that he just was feeling that way, because it's
hard to hear.
It is. It's very hard to hear. And knowing that it is genetic, and that I passed my sad girl feelings onto my son, you know, just, it hurt that I wasn't better. And then I had to remember, I don't have to be better. I just have to be present and understanding.
Very much so.
So him and I, we had a conversation, and then I was, of course, in my feels, and we ended the call with "I love yous" and promises to each other, and then I was just not feeling it for the rest of the day.
And that's okay. I mean, as parents, like, we take on our children's emotions, and I mean, I feel like if we could, we would take every sad emotion that those kids are feeling so that they wouldn't have to feel that way. And I mean, that takes a toll on us as parents. And Lacey and I have been best friends for 10 years now.
Just after Lily was born.
So almost 10 years.
Almost 10 years.
So, we've built a really solid foundation. And I mean, we were crazy with each other from day one. So, I mean,
she was afraid to talk to me because apparently I have a solid resting bitch face.
Okay, but look at her face, though. It's kind of scary when she looks at you kind of meanly. But anyways, I mean, and I wasn't in my right mind either, but she became my person and I became hers. And through the years, we just have built that foundation and built that solid things. And a crazy part about good, solid friendships is we went like 2 years
without talking to each other,
other than like, here's a meme here and here's a meme there, and hey, I love you, hope you're feeling okay.
Like, through no fault of our own.
It's just lives get busy. I mean, I was in a relationship, she was in her marriage. We were both very busy people. She had a young child. She was the first person that I called right away. I mean, it was pretty much out of the blue. Like, we had just started talking to each other again.
And she was in tears, and she was like, guess what? And the first words out of my mouth were, "You're pregnant."
It's like we have ESP. It's crazy.
Or as my sisters say, ESPNI.
Yeah, ESP, PNI, PSI.
PSI.
That's a whole other thing. Her sister can't find words sometimes, which buffering, I feel. But yeah, no, like, it's okay. It's okay to need your people in times like that. And I feel like, even 10 years later, we still struggle with that, but it's such an important thing that we're open and honest with each other.
And like, my toxic trait, and we'll get into this, when we talk about women and their toxic traits. I feel like I don't need anybody.
Hyper independence.
Very much so. And that's through trauma and being let down my entire life. I've learned over the years to quit asking. But
so now I don't ask, I just do. To a point.
When you find your tribe, and your tribe understands your mental health and your mania and your depression and your anxiety and your toxic traits, because everybody has them.
And that's important, is that we know that everybody has them, and just accepting them for what they are and trying to work through them.
I forgot where I was going with that, but
I mean, it's important that you find your tribe, and your tribe understands exactly what it is that you need in times like that. I mean, I know when I call her and she answers and she's quiet, that's when I need to get my ass over here real fast. It's if she's quiet,
or if I don't answer,
or if she doesn't answer within about 3 or 4 hours. I mean, we're still adults, we still are busy. She works from home, and she has a very demanding job. And I mean, I'm a mom and she's a mom, and we got shit going on. But
if I don't call her back that day, by the end of the day, say she calls me in the morning, if I don't call her by, say, noon, 1, 2 o'clock, she's on my ass trying to get a hold of me. Or if she calls in the afternoon and I don't call her that night, or at least message her and say, hey, I'm okay, like, do a mental health check-in. And that's another, like, issue of mine, is being so hyper independent, but then also so reliant. It's almost like an unhealthy attachment you and I have, and I think we discussed that last episode. Or
no, we really haven't discussed it, but we've just discussed it
with us ourselves
personally. But I mean, but there's another thing, is we recognize that we have an unhealthy attachment to each other, but I mean, in that, with what our mental healths are, or lack thereof, what they are, and how we know that sometimes they can tackle us and bring us to our knees, it's really important. And I mean, I'm grateful for you for when you call me at 8 o'clock at night because I haven't spoken to you all day and you have been trying and I've just opened the messages or not opened the messages, Christ, that one time you just fucking showed up. You're like, hey, and
checking in,
and I was on the couch having a good cry sesh. That's all it needs to be. Is you don't get to be sad by yourself.
No.
We know what that can lead to, and we won't allow it.
And that all comes from trauma caused by people with narcissistic tendencies and toxic personality traits.
So the first one that we would prefer to touch on is the toxic masculinity and the thought that they are the keepers of the house and they are law.
Yep. Did we truly define the definition between a toxic person?
So no, and I feel like socially right now people kind of throw out narcissism and toxic
a lot,
and it shouldn't necessarily be that way. You can have a bad relationship and it not be a narcissistic one. It could be toxic because two people, there are people out there I don't vibe with, and like Lace will tell you, every time that I end a phone call, what do I say?
Love you, bye.
Love you, bye. And that is not singular to her. That is not singular to my parents or my brother. That is to... I'll be at work on the phone with a coworker. They'll be like, hey, come help me change so-and-so because they're full of shit. And I'll be like, okay, be there in a minute. Love you, bye.
Yep.
And I just told this to my mom last night. I love everyone, and I do not want to see anyone hurt. Well, one person, but like that's neither here nor there.
So, there's a Tupac saying, I don't want to see you go hungry. You just don't have a place at my table.
100%. And like, you can just not vibe with people and they still are a good person.
Yeah.
Like, it just, you guys don't vibe. There's a million people out there I don't vibe with. But it's when they don't vibe with a bunch of people, or they don't vibe with them because they aren't being followed blindly.
So a toxic person is someone who brings negativity into your life. They are draining, make you feel bad about yourself, or are simply not good for your mental health. So there's many different types of toxic people. It's finding those personalities within those toxic people and identifying them and being self-aware enough to be like,
that's a red flag.
That's a red flag. And again, I'm the red flag of the group. I know I have toxic traits and I'm working through them to get better.
I mean, and it's an important thing too, though, like recognizing your red flags and allowing people to call you out on them, because that is something that a narcissist will wholly not do. They will not allow you to tell them what it is they're doing that is toxic or narcissistic or just absolutely downright crazy. Sometimes, I mean, some of that shit is fucked up.
Very much so.
So, like, we're talking about this labor song, and Paris Paloma
she nailed it. I have been screaming this at the top of my lungs since last night when I first came across it. And I think it was actually released yesterday.
I don't think it was released yesterday because it was 2 days ago that I found it on Apple Music.
Oh,
so it was probably Monday. But, like, there's a point, and Lacey brings this up because I've never been in an physically abusive relationship. And there's a line that in there that, what is it? It's,
So she says, so in the song, she's talking about how women do everything. They are
wear
the mothers,
so many hats.
They're the savior. They're expected to be the virgin and a nymph. And then she says, so he never has to lift a finger. And initially, Kylie had taken it at face value.
Of having to do all of the work.
So the men just sit around, they do nothing, women do it all. As somebody who has been in an abusive relationship, it instantly, when I heard that line, chills, goosebumps, like brought back the trauma. I took it as so he never has to hit her.
And I mean, now that I hear it, I can't unhear it, because that really was a two-sided coin there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's crazy to me how shit like that can be so triggering, but so fucking true. And I feel like Paris Paloma is like healing so many people.
And that's like,
with
the song
this
is
song.
so triggering to me, but healing at the same time. Like, I feel heard, I feel seen, I
Validated.
feel like validated. I'm not alone in this journey, that there's so many other people out there who
Right.
are
I mean,
dealing
it
with
is
this.
it is like one of the highest used sounds on TikTok right now, just because so many people, so many women are vibing with it.
I think
and
they're
experienced
finding-
this.
I think they're finding we're in this amazing era where women are finding their voice, they're finding their inner beast,
Mhm.
going absolute feral right
Yup.
now.
Yep.
And I think I told you that last night. I'm like, I am going feral to this
you
song.
literally sent me a message. You're like, have you heard this? And I'm like, yeah, I heard it a couple days ago. And you're like, well, it's my new anthem.
Yeah.
So, you know, another thing is that with that toxic
Yeah,
masculinity,
let's get back to the
we got-
topic.
I know, we just rapid fire, and it goes all the way to the lake and back. So another thing with this toxic masculinity is the manipulation
Yes.
and the victim shaming, the gaslighting,
Yes.
you know, all of this. Hello, Luca. And this is Luca, everybody.
Again.
If you can't remember him, this is him, and apparently he's just going to be a weekly thing as well.
He's the goodest
So,
boy.
He is the goodest boy. He's a good boy. No, that's enough. Lay down. Settle down.
Come on, bud.
So, you know, thank you. That tail is deadly. Deadly as fuck.
Deadly as fuck. Your baby daddy's a bitch.
He doesn't have one. So, you know, with it comes this manipulation and this victim shaming of, you know, coming back to this song, women feel like they're doing all of these things, and they are doing all of these things. But if we even voice it, if we talk about it, we try to explain how we're feeling, then it is completely flipped and twisted
Mm-hmm.
by whomever it is that's making it. I mean, and this does not have to be just men that we're in relationships with. This can be narcissistic parents. This can be, you know, roommates that you live with. It can be anybody who is taking advantage of you.
Lie, guilt trips, emotional blackmail, threats.
And the threats are not just to you, it's to themselves, because they know you hold empathy
And
for
that's the
another person.
The amount of times I heard, I'm gonna kill myself.
If you leave me, I'm gonna kill myself.
If you don't come right now and help me, I'm gonna kill myself.
That
They're
is emotional
bawling.
manipulation.
It's emotional warfare.
It really is, because they know that we hold too much empathy and that we will drop what we're doing.
Mhm.
But the problem with that is a lot of times, and it may take 6 months, it may take 5 years, we will eventually get wise to it, that though they are utilizing that, very rarely will they follow through with that, because they love themselves too much.
And I think what holds us in that space of not calling them out on their bullshit
is the fear.
Because what if they do it? And then we're the last person that says, you know what, fuck it, go for it.
Right.
I've heard you say this so many damn times, fucking do it. If that's where you're at, I'm fucking done, go for it.
Yeah.
And it's that fear of, if I say this and they actually do it, then that death is on my hands.
Absolutely.
And I can't live with that.
Absolutely.
And they know this.
And they use that.
Yeah.
They 100% use that. So, you know, I mean, as, you know, with us getting to this point of the manipulation and everything, you know, if I say, you know, I need your help, even something crazy stupid, like, I need your help, take out the garbage for me, then it's, I'll do it later, I told you I'd do it later, and it'll be an hour, 3 hours, 2 days, 5 days. Finally, we just fucking take the garbage out ourselves, and then it becomes a victim shaming.
Like, I told you I would have done it.
I told you I would have done it. Why do you think I'm useless? Why is this something that you can't just trust me on.
It's always a big deal with you. Like,
right. Why do you nag me? You know, that's just crazy to me. And it's a big part of this in getting through relationships like this and recognizing it is going, there's no logic to it. And trying to understand it will just end you. Yep. Because it'll just take you in circles forever.
I have somebody in my life that's family that plays the victim card very well. He is, I want to say, 8 years older than me,
something like that.
Yeah,
and you look at me like I would know.
Well, you know exactly who I'm talking
I
about.
do. I 100%
All I
know
had
who
to
you're
say
talking
was
about.
he is the victim 100%
100% of the time.
Like, I've let this man live with me, and what should have been just 2 days
turned into 6 months.
6 months, and I was out.
I know.
Luca, I was out $5,500 in 6 months. I paid off all of his bills. I took care of his kid, which also happens to be family. I paid for her birthday party. My sister and I, we tried to get him jobs that lasted, 2 weeks, a month, maybe.
The shortest one was 3 days?
Yep.
Something like that?
And he was fired, but it was never his fault because somebody pissed him off.
Somebody had it out for him.
Yeah.
You know, it could never own up to what it was that they were doing to initiate those kind of responses in people. Like,
he would park his vehicle in front of my house and walk down a couple houses down to the bar, and then show up just completely drunk,
smashed,
wanting me to blow in his Intoxilax so he could drive home. And when I would put my foot down and say I'm not doing that, he would be like, well, have your son, mind you, my son at the time was 14, he was like, just have your son drive me home. I'm not gonna have my 14-year-old drive you home.
And then have to walk back in the snow.
Like, he was, well, how am I supposed to get home? They left me there. I can't drive my car. You managed to get yourself down there. He always had the money to go out, get drunk, or buy drugs, or do whatever it is that he needed or wanted, but he didn't have the money to pay his bills or get food in the house. I mean, Christ, last week he tried to hit me up for $5 so he could go buy fruit for his daughter.
Right.
Like, he's got
enough for his habits, but not enough to, you know, actually be an adult and pay for his own groceries.
And it's his victim, and he's the victim, and he blames it on the childhood that we had, or he had, and he blames it on his friends or other people who have it out for him, or work. Like, it's never his issue. Him. And at what point do you stop being the victim and realize that you're the problem?
And it's really hard because there's a child involved.
There is.
And
that's where the emotional toxic abuse comes in.
Right,
because it's hard for me to say no because there is that kid.
And he knows that.
Yep.
He knows that, and he utilizes that. So, you know, that's a whole nother shebang, is that they use kids and
as weapons and pawns.
As mothers, first off, as mothers, as women, as people with empathy, because it does happen to men as well, too.
Yep.
You know, how do you say no to a kid because their parent is being a dick? You can't. It's near impossible. It's hard to assess, like, whether that child will then be put in a dangerous, unsafe, unclean, you know, hungry environment or not. Like, is the narcissist bluffing?
I know, with this person, I know that there's no way he would put her in harm's way.
100%.
I know for a fact that he would never not have a clean home for her.
100%.
I know for a fact that he would never not have food in the house. And with this particular case, it was, he needed a well-balanced, he had the veggies, he had the meat, he just didn't have the fruit. And it was him, you know, wanting to be a good dad and trying to be a good dad, But again, being the victim and like, I don't have $5. Do you
Yeah.
have food at your house, or can I have $5? Well, you owe me $5,500 as it is. I'm not going to say no to you, but on the other hand, like, you knew you were getting your kid.
You should have had this arranged.
Like, how do you not prepare for this?
100%. So,
it's the constant use of everybody else. Let me use you.
and in that, a lot of times when you get into a relationship, and again, it doesn't have to be a physical, intimate relationship. It can be with a new friend.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it can be with new friends. It can be with new people that you've just met. But they will try to, and I feel like indoctrinate is not quite the correct word, but I feel like it might be
pretty close.
They will try to indoctrinate themselves into your life very quickly. And with intimate relationships, it will be, I love you within a month.
Whirlwind.
It'll be love bombing. It'll be, what can I do for you? What can I do for you? Can I help you? I mean, the relationship that you were in last summer, you know, situationship, I don't know, it was almost a relationship.
More situationship.
But any hoosers. I mean, this person, and we've been around the block a time or two, so how many times were we on the phone trying to analyze what this person was doing, and we were going, love bombing or do they care? Love bombing or do they care?
Yeah.
It was so hard because they had been together less than 2 weeks, and this person was getting her like hundreds of dollars worth of plants that she had wanted.
I had made a random comment about how I like this type of plant, and like the next thing I know, he's video chatting me. He's like, so like this color, and I'm legit saying no, like don't do this.
Do not get me those.
And he shows up
with hundreds
these bushes, like a good $200 worth of bushes, if not more. Some of those were
expensive
$60-$70 bushes.
I know.
And I got 5 of them.
And it was hard because, and it still remains hard for us to go, is this a red flag or is this somebody being kind to us? Because, you know, I'm in an extremely healthy relationship right now.
I hate you.
I know, but I love you.
I love you too, but damn.
You know, and I asked this person, and I asked him, I said, hey, I want your opinion because I feel like we cannot be objective on this. And I had said, this is what he's doing. Do you feel like that is something normal? And my boyfriend goes,
his eyes got big.
Right, he goes, well, I wouldn't do that. But that's not to say somebody might not do that.
Yeah.
And so, you know, not like that was a huge amount of help, but like it did open our eyes a little bit to going, okay, so.
And at that time, we knew your boyfriend was green flags, like
all the way, and he continues to be like, still haven't found a yellow one or a red one
daily.
Yeah,
and it's hard.
It's hard to be so objective about it.
Yeah.
And to still feel like it's hard for us to feel hope sometimes about other people because of what we've been through and what we see a lot. So, you know, going too fast in relationships is such a big red flag because I mean, did he tell you he loved you or no, not quite there.
No,
but it was the love bombing.
It was the love bombing, and I say situationship because that whole thing lasted 6 weeks.
And honestly, 3 of those 6 weeks were you guys constantly fighting.
I had twisted my knee, and I have a bad knee anyways. I had just a bad knee. It's called getting old. But I had twisted my knee, and I was hobbling around on my crutches. And he had come over, and he was like, well, do you want me to stay? And I was like, honestly, I don't care at this point. Like, I'm in so much pain. I just don't care.
Right.
And he was like, no. Like, I want you to tell me you want me to stay. And I'm like, I don't care if you stay and I don't care if you go. Like, I'm not mad either way. Like, my ass is getting to that couch and I am parking it.
Staying there.
I'm not getting up to take a shower. I'm not getting up to make food. I'm not doing anything. And he was just adamant that I tell him I wanted him to stay because he wanted to help me. And with my hyper independence, like, I can do this on my own. Did I need him there? No. Did I want him there? Like, I didn't really honestly care. And I told him, I said, if you want to stay, great, you can park your ass in the chair and watch a movie with me. But if you want to go home, like, you just got off work, you want to go home, do whatever, like, that's fine.
Because I know that you're tired after a long day, and the last thing you want to do is hear me be grumpy because my knee hurts.
And I was grumpy.
She was fucking grumpy.
And I refuse to take any kind of meds. Like, I don't like taking pills. I hate taking any kind of narcotics. Like, I will sit there and I will elevate and I will ice and, like, I will be a complete fucking bear. And if he wanted to stick around and deal with that, that was on him. I was not going to tell him, I want you to stay here.
And that moves into the next part of this is the fluctuating emotions. Because that right there was... It went from, I want to take care of you, I want you to feel good,
to him calling me a bitch as he walked out the door.
Anger because you are telling him exactly how you're feeling.
And
how dare you?
I could not break it down anymore for him.
Right.
It was, I'm not going to lie to you and tell you, no, I don't care, when really I do. Like, that's not my personality. I will tell you straight up how I feel. If I want you here, I will tell you I want you here. If I don't want you here, I will tell you I don't want you here.
And if you're indifferent to it, whether you're here or not here, you will say that.
And it was just not the answer. So it was like, hey, how you doing? Like, hug. How's the knee? Do you need anything? To being pissed off that I was not giving him the answer he wanted, to calling me a bitch and slamming my door.
Yep, 100%. And I mean, that happens in so many situations where if you being the operant, you know, if you make dinner, I mean, I don't know how many times that happened, is I made dinner, came home, I'm not hungry, so mad that I had the audacity to make dinner, and then the next night I didn't make dinner.
I'm pissed off that you didn't make dinner.
Pissed off that you didn't make dinner, and then the next night it was, they came home with dinner, and they were like, oh, well, I got dinner, and then the second you were not thankful for such an gracing experience. Yeah,
God forbid that they actually did something nice for you when you didn't acknowledge it and, like, bend down, kiss their feet, and made them feel like fucking God.
And then it's a switch flip. It's immediate and crazy.
Yep.
So, I mean...
The lack of communication.
Yes.
And not communication to listen, but or to hear you, or to listen, but to also understand.
Right, and that's something huge. Is I know,
I know. Struggling with that one.
I was telling my teacher that the other day, and she kind of went wide-eyed at me. But like so many people, and this does not just include narcissists or toxic people. This includes society as a whole. Is so many people want to be quick to respond to people because they feel like that is how they are seen and viewed as smart and intelligent beings. Whereas if we would just slow down and hear people when they talk and formulate a true empathetic response to whatever they're saying, and it doesn't need to be like some big long monologue or anything, it doesn't need to be that, but when you tell me, you know, man, I'm feeling real unalivey today, it should not be a quick, well, don't do that.
Well, don't do that. I mean, you've got so much to live for, and then move on to the next topic.
Right. It needs to be a thought-out response, like, why are you feeling that way? What's going on to make you feel like that? You know, it's...
And it doesn't have to be something about something so serious like unaliving yourself. It could just be, you know... How was your day? Or you're complaining about somebody at work, or you're what have you, whatever instance it is, like the other person hearing you and having, you know, that complete, concise, thought out response to make you feel okay, they heard me, they understand that validation. And it's not that we need that validation all the time, but when I'm trying to have a conversation with somebody, that validation of being heard is
so important.
Top tier.
So important. And it, like you said, it doesn't need to be like a big topic or anything. I mean, it could be as crazy as, oh my gosh, so and so is pissing me off.
Yeah.
You know, then it doesn't need to be such a quick response of, oh my gosh, why? You know, it can be something like, you know, what is it they're doing that really bothers you? Help your other person get to the root of what's bugging them. Because, I mean, for me in general, most of the time, if somebody else is pissing me off, it's not, their behavior isn't actually what's pissing me off. It's just kind of annoying me a little bit. But because I'm already pissed off about something else, that's a bigger deal.
Yep.
So getting to the root of why you're actually mad or frustrated or sad or whatever it is such a big deal. Like when we're on our phone calls and you're like, man, you're real off today. What's going on?
You're quiet. There's been a few times where you've said, you good? You're like quiet today.
Or, you good? You're fidgeting a lot.
And there's some days where I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. I just don't have anything to say.
Right.
And she's like, oh, okay. Here. But there's other days like, yeah, I do. I'm not ready to discuss it. Or there's days where I'm like, thank God you asked, because I didn't want to be the one to bring up the issue.
Work on it.
Yep. But now that you asked, here it is. And it's just like this rambling. And there's days you do that too with me.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And it's like, okay, let's break this down.
Let's see what's actually happening.
Yeah.
And, you know, it doesn't have to be that deep all of the time. It can be as superficial as, you know, you get to work and you see your coworker and they just seem a little bit different than their usual self. And you go, hey, you doing okay? And they can be, yeah. Hear them when they say that, yeah, because sometimes
it's the tone,
inflection, it's
body language
you can offer yourself without making them uncomfortable. And that's such a big thing too. And knowing when to back off, because, and that's a lot of narcissists are,
they push.
They know when you're sad. They know when you're feeling different. But the difference is they will push until you break. And then when you do break, when you do finally blow up and tell them what it is that's bothering you, if it's anything big or frustrating or crazy, even if it's not, they will turn it back on you and tell you why you're crazy or how you're completely misinterpreting the situation or whatever. And instead of validating your feelings and allowing you to, or helping you to come up with a solution to the problem. Yep. So, you know, with that,
I think we beat that
one to death. Drama.
Okay, so there's a lot of drama in my life.
Oh my God, so much drama. You literally are the tea spiller.
But that's like, what do I do in life normally?
You literally, her day goes, wake up, take the children to school, come back home, clock into work all day, talking to me in the process, clocking out for her break to go pick up her kids, come back, clock back in from lunch, finish her work day, take the one child to gymnastics, take the other child to driver's ed, wait there, come home, go to bed. Feed herself somewhere in there.
Feed the kids, clean the house. I don't go out to bars.
Rarely.
I think maybe once
every couple months, maybe we'll go, hey, you want to go out? And then 2 hours later, we're like, back home to the couch.
Yeah. It's rarely out. I do my errands, but I don't go to places and hang out with people. Like, I go to your house. I go to my friend Bree's house. My friends Dave and Shelly, I go to their house. Like, I have a very small group of people that have been vetted for years and have
4 years.
And Like that's my tribe, but I don't do anything.
No, you don't. But even still,
The drama
the drama
there.
that follows you is crazy.
Like,
And it's drama that's unrelatedly connected to her. And I mean, your ex from last, or your situationship from last summer, I mean, they are still on Facebook ranting and raving and posting.
That started like midsummer.
It started when me and my boyfriend started dating, so you were about a week after me.
Yep.
And so that was mid-July, and then you guys broke up right at the end of August.
We cut ties.
Whatever.
Not a relationship.
Whatever. Broke up, cut ties, ended the situationship,
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it. Calm yourself.
Yeah. So that lasted like 6 weeks. August of 2022. It is now almost March.
It's
April.
I was going to say, it's March right now.
Almost April.
March 29th.
So August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March. It has been 7 months.
That's 8, sweetie.
8 here. 7.
You had this.
7.
8.
August. I was counting like this.
Oh, okay. Sorry, blah.
7 months.
This is 8.
But I didn't have my second hand up.
Oh,
It's been 7 months. And like,
don't knock that over, Luca.
periodically we'll check his page, and yes, this is a toxic trait of ours,
Yeah.
but it's a good laugh.
It's a good laugh every once in a while, and most of it is Andrew Tate.
Yeah.
And if you don't know who that is, cautiously Google it.
Yeah. But he, like, up until I want to say about a month ago, he was still actively posting constantly
About how women are the problem, women are narcissists, women
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 are the issue.
women will not allow men to respect them, women will not allow men to do their job and be men.
Yeah.
It's just been nothing but. Yeah, so, the drama that people are attempting to incite is crazy.
And I have nothing, I have not commented.
I did.
I didn't, though.
I did, but okay, this person has never met me. Like, because they would always, like, go out on the weekends when they were in their situationship, and I worked the weekends. And then, like, they worked a PM shift. It never matched up, and they weren't together long enough for me to actually care to do it.
To care.
Yeah, we're still actively in our, like, unhealthy attachment, but it just never meshed up. But so this person had never met me, but damn if I don't even remember what the post. Oh, it was about Snapchat being a relationship breaker up or whatever.
A relationship killer.
Yes, and I mean, I was not the only female on that posting thread to comment and be like, yeah, you're crazy. No, but it was definitely for a laugh. And where one of us would drop the torch, the other would pick it right back up. And I'll give it to him. He's got some stamina. He really held on to her.
He is set. And that's what narcissists are, or toxic personalities or toxic traits. They are set in their ways.
Mm-hmm.
If they refuse to see that they're part of the problem.
If anything, they double down.
Yep.
If anything.
But yeah, as far as drama, like, it follows me. I don't do anything. I don't go anywhere. I rarely talk to anybody. Currently in a feud with my neighbor.
Oh God, yeah.
That was, that's a whole different story for another time.
Which I will be the one to call her out, and I will call her out every day of the week. But I also laugh about it, is she's the queen of petty. She will match the energy and increase it by 5, 10, 15, 20 fold. Because, we're sick of being trampled on. And if you're going to act the way you're acting, fine, I'll do it better.
It is my villain era.
It really is, and I love it, and I'm here for it, but it makes me chuckle sometimes with the pettiness. But, like, you know, they're to a point where if you step a toe, because they share an easement,
A driveway.
if you don't know, it's literally like, here's their driveway, here's her driveway.
Our garage is split by, I think there's maybe a 1.5 foot gap.
Maybe.
Between our two garages.
So, like, they're right there. If somebody, and it does not have to be her, if I were to come into her driveway, into Lacey's driveway, and I were to put a toe onto this other person's driveway,
she'll call the cops.
She would call the cops on my ass. She would call the cops and be like, that bitch.
But come winter, I am the first person out there snow blowing and shoveling, and I'm right on that property line. My driveway is looking pristine, and hers is still 18 inches under snow.
Yeah.
Or
we're in Wisconsin, by the way, so
like, she had come home the other night, and I have security cameras up, and I'm notified whenever there's movement. And I'm a chronic insomniac, so there's days where I don't take my meds and I'm up all night, and that will go 2-3 days, and then I'll take my meds and I am out. But if I wake up,
you're not going back to bed.
Then I'm not going back to bed, and I take enough meds to literally kill a horse. But I'm still conscious enough, like, I hear things and I'm up. So if I'm woken up in one of my meta-induced sleeps, I'm pissed the fuck off.
Mm-hmm.
And she had come home with her flavor of the month at like 2:30 in the morning.
Yeah, it was
just blasting the music. So with my security cameras, I can speak through it. And I called, like, I pressed the button and I was like, can you keep it down? Like, you just woke up the entire fucking household. And she, also being a very toxic person, had thought I had hacked into her
ring camera.
And I'm like, bitch, I'm good. I'm just not that fucking good.
Right. But, like, it's nice that you hold me in such high esteem.
Right?
And she's, like, looking at the camera, her camera, like, how the hell did she do that?
Yeah. And like, her boyfriend at the time had said, we leave the trash outside. And I was like, trash? I own my own house. My car I fix and I work on, and it's paid off. I don't rely on my baby daddy's money to support me or the kids. Like, I have a full-time job. I've had this full-time job for years. Even when I didn't have this job, I had a previous job that there was no break in between.
Mm-hmm.
I have worked every day for like the last 10 years without having a break in between jobs.
Yep.
And she moved her flavor of the month in within weeks of dating.
Oh my gosh, yes, that was crazy.
You know, and her car broke down, and like, but I'm the trash.
You're the white trash.
I'm the trash, and that's okay. I'm like, that's fine. I can be trash, but you're gonna be gone here soon when she finds somebody else who could take better care of her financially, and that's all it is somebody who will take better care of her. But like, I'm calling her out. It's 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning via my fucking security cameras.
Gosh. So yeah, the drama.
Or her calling the cops.
Oh God. How many times in the last year?
Well, on the meter maid.
Oh God, that was funny.
She saw footprints go from her house.
If you don't know what a meter maid is, it is a person from the town, the city, wherever the fuck you live, that goes to each house and checks and resets the meters, the electricity meters of your home.
Yep.
That, you know, will then record it and report back to the electric company. That person goes around at the beginning of every month and does this.
I had gotten up early that morning, brought in my trash cans, dropped my son off at school. He had a tournament like two hours away. So I dropped him off at school so he could ride the bus. Came back to the house. I got ready, got my daughter up. And then we were out of the house by 7:30.
Yeah, you were gone quick.
Like, I was maybe home a half hour after dropping him off. And then by 8 o'clock, the meter maid was coming through. And where her meter is like next to her deck, right by like the basement window.
Yes.
And they had come from the front of her house to the side, read the meter, crossed both of our driveways, walked through my front yard, and to the side of my house over here. Like, she lives there.
To her meter.
And walked this way. But like, my cameras were dinging that there's notifications. I'm not checking it. I'm at my son's wrestling tournament. And all of a sudden I get a message from another friend saying, hey, there's cops at your house. I'm like, what? She was like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm 2 hours away at a tournament. Like, what's going on? She's like, well, I can send her son over. I said, no, that's okay. I'll check the cameras. And I'm looking, and I couldn't help but laugh because I knew immediately why she called the cops, because when she came out, she saw the footprints and she looked through our driveways into my yard, and you could see her walk down and taking pictures, and she was adamant that I was looking in her basement window. But then the cop came and came up to my front door. I didn't answer, obviously. So I called and I left a message on our local PD's number. I said, hey, call me back. I seen you guys were at my house. What's going on? They called me back. She was like, yeah. I said, it's super fun when people are dumb fucks.
And in the video too, if you listen, you can hear her on the phone with dispatch or whomever. She had dialed 911 and said, oh, I didn't know the non-emergent line number, as if she's not holding this really fancy electronic device that has Google that can't go boop 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 boop. Oh, that's the number, I'll call that one, and not waste fucking town city resources for 911. My God.
But
anyways,
yeah. So I pieced all of my security footage together and I posted it to social media, and I said, does anybody have a Karen 2.0? Because we call her mother Karen.
Right.
And I posted it. It got a
lot
lot
of
of views. It got shared a lot. It kind of went around our local area here. Everybody saw it.
That was so funny.
Yeah.
But so yeah, the drama,
they're the victims.
the drama, the victim shaming, the victim blaming. So there you have it. Women can be the drama too. They can be the narcissist. They can be the problem.
Very much so.
And a lot of all of this, I don't care who you are. You could have had an idyllic childhood. You could have had the best upbringing, and you can still have trauma.
Yeah.
I had a phenomenal childhood. My parents are still together, and we weren't rich by any means, but we weren't bad off either.
Yeah.
And I am forever grateful for the life that my parents have given me, and for the things that they still continue to do for me at 28 years old. And I will never take that for granted. But I've also learned to not apologize for it.
Yep.
A lot of people feel that I have been handed everything with a silver spoon, and it's just not true. Yes, I have been offered a lot of opportunities that even Lacey had not been offered, has still not been offered. My parents own my house, and I'm not afraid to say that. They bought this house for me when my daughter was still in my belly. And, they just wanted to see their grandchild grow up in a home that was in a secure place, that if I ever lost my job, if anything were to ever happen, that I wouldn't have to be worried about being kicked out of my place, about her losing her home. And I'm forever grateful for that. But
Kylie and I have had very, very opposite ends of the spectrum growing up history.
Wholeheartedly. Her trauma happened
from birth.
From her birth, from childhood. My trauma happened as an adult. And I'm not afraid to say it. I was SA'd. I was raped as an adult. And that is a trauma I have moved through. I'm not past it. Nobody will ever get past something like that. And there are still days that I'm triggered by some shit. And it really sucks. But the difference between then and now is that I am very open to talking about it, and I am not afraid to tell people that it happened, because I'm not a victim, I'm a survivor. Same as Lacey, she is not a victim, she is a survivor. And
fuck that, I'm a goddamn warrior.
The queen, ladies and gentlemen.
Trauma is trauma, no matter what age
no matter walk of life you have lived, no matter the age. But a narcissistic person, a person who is toxic, cannot accept A, that they have trauma,
Yep.
or B, and this is the more common, that their trauma causes them to react in certain ways. And
they normally go hand in hand.
they do. And I mean, like, you know, say one person, they have a shitty upbringing, and then they use that as an excuse to treat people shittily.
Yep.
And like shittily. Hey, it's a word. I'm gonna call it a word, man. You know, like we were saying about raising our kids before, we can have things happen to us and we can feel our feelings about them, but it is not okay to project them onto other people, and it is not okay to blame other people for the things that have happened in our pasts. And narcissists will use their past, past cheating exes.
Yeah.
That's a huge one. Well, my ex cheated on me, so I feel like you're going to too. I need you to check in with me all of the time. I need you to not go to your friend's house. I need you to not have male friends.
I'm never going to trust you. You're going to have to earn it.
You have to increasingly and always show me that you always have your location on. Let me see your phone all of the time, but never show me your phone. Never let me show you my phone. Or
I
anything.
have to have your passcode to get into your phone and all of your social medias, but I don't see the need in you having to have mine. I'm not doing anything sketchy.
There is a point where, yes, if you have a cheating ex or somebody who has done something, you are going to be suspicious of other people, and that is case in point. We're going to. If something happened to us, this is how we're reacting. But treating somebody the same way that another person treated us, or treating somebody as if they're going to do that with no cause, it's okay to be a little suspicious. I mean, I'm suspicious of people all the time. My boyfriend, and again, going back to it, he is the king of green flags.
I hate you.
However, one of the things that I have anxiety when he doesn't text me back, like within an hour, man. Like it is forever.
And he is aware of this, and he definitely tries.
He definitely tries, but he is also some crazy person that's not glued to their phone, and he left his phone at home the other day when he went to work. Did he go back and get it? He works like 2 minutes away from his house, by the way, and he passes his house several times. When he is not worried about his phone. He's not worried about what's going on with his phone, because he knows that in the event that something does happen, somebody will be able to reach him from work. I have a lot of anxiety about that, and he's aware of that, and he has done a lot better about responding to me and making sure to alleviate my anxiety.
And you've also done a lot of work to not get to that point where your anxiety is so beyond you can't manage it then.
Right. So, I mean, that's a toxic trait that I have, and something that I've worked through. And I mean, how many times have I called you and gone, he hasn't responded to me in like an hour and a half, and I can't, and I won't, and I feel
what do
like
I
shit.
say?
You say, quit being a red flag.
I say, calm down.
And
it's going to be okay. Maybe he got busy with something. Like, it's just calm down.
Right. And the thing with my current boyfriend, the thing with my boyfriend is he doesn't have any of that past trauma to relate to.
Yep.
So he cannot sympathize with me, but he can empathize with me, and he
empathizes a lot.
He does, and he asks me, he's like, is there something that I need to do differently? And we talk through it. So that's very nice.
But see, where toxic people will use your trauma against you.
And so, if I had a toxic boyfriend, I would be like, I need you to respond to me. And, my anxiety would then ping pong off of that, because I would feel like what I was doing would be okay. And that's a big thing. I've accepted that what I feel like that is not necessarily normal or okay, to feel like he needs to respond to me all the time. Whereas if I had a toxic boyfriend, he would be like, you need to respond to me all the time. I will respond to you all the time. It's got to be a constant communication, like minutes apart. And I would feel like that would be okay. Whereas if he got pissed at me about something, and it could be minute, it could be so small, like, you haven't responded to me in 5 minutes, fine, I will not respond to you for a day and a half, 2 days, 3 days.
Yep.
I would be sick with anxiety, and he would know that.
I have to pee.
Oh no. She's got to pee everybody. So, while she does that, you know, bouncing off of the old traumas and everything, they either don't think that it exists at all, or they won't accept that it's a problem for them, and they won't work through it. And they also use their past traumas as reasons to gaslight and reasons to cross boundaries. You know, there's a very secure boundary that I have that, you know, if I tell you no and I don't want to be touched, or like for any reason, that's it. No is a complete sentence. And I've had it where, you know, not even significant others, where just like other partners, people who you're with intimately, will be like, well, this is what I want, so that's what I'm gonna do. So, you know, not taking no, or not accepting boundaries for what they are, is such a huge part of it too. And like, it's crazy to me how, you know, if I lay down a line, people just like act like it's a jump rope.
Yeah.
And they just want to hop right over it. So, yeah, I don't know if you have anything to add about the gaslighting and the boundary crossing.
No, I think you pretty much summed it up exactly kind of how I would have put it. Like the jump roping is definitely, they definitely don't care.
Right. They act like it's a game.
Yeah.
It's a huge game. Something that we did want to touch on was significant others saying they're overprotective.
Yes. That in and of itself
Is
may
not bad.
May not be toxic, but when you add all the other traits to it, it makes that overprotectiveness toxic. It is okay if somebody wants to protect you and be there and stand next to you, if they understand your boundaries.
And on top of that,
And respect your boundaries when it comes to that.
I will take that opportunity. After my trauma happened, I could not physically be touched on my back.
Nope.
For several reasons I won't get into. I could not physically be touched on my back, except by a select few people. Lacey, my best friend, my other friend Cora, and my now ex Michael. I mean,
Yeah.
I could not be touched except by those three people. And those three people also knew that when I was out in public, if we were at the store or if we were anywhere that there were other people around, that they had to stay by my back. And a lot of times if I was having a high anxiety day, they had to have their hand on my back so that I knew that nobody else would touch me.
It was almost it was a reassurance.
It was a reassurance and a reminder.
Yeah.
That is being protective of your person, of your people.
I'd like to add to that though, because we worked together previously to us taking separate jobs, still within the same system,
Right.
just kind of went different routes. But when she would be having a panic attack or an anxiety attack, or one of her PTSD flashbacks, and like all she could say at that moment when we were working together, and we made sure we worked the same shift.
Yep.
Just for that reason, because we started working not long after.
Mm-hmm.
They would come to me, but when I came out to you during one of those episodes, it was, hey, it's me, breathe, I'm going to touch you now.
Right, announcing that this is
Yeah.
She didn't innately think that it was okay to touch me.
No.
Whereas if I was very, very fortunate that my ex and my friends recognized at that time that they needed to announce their presence to me, and they needed to announce that they were going to touch me. Whereas if I was in a bad relationship at that point, my ex would have, or my ex, the person that I would have been with, the narcissist, would be immediately like, I'll just do it.
Overstepping those boundaries.
I'll just do it and assume that she'll be fine with it.
I'm here to protect you. It is my job.
Why are you mad at me? Why are you getting worse when I'm here to protect you?
Combining multiple toxic traits. It's the gaslighting. It's the stepping over the boundaries. It is the
victim shifting.
The victim shifting. It's the excuse. I'm here to protect you. Why won't you let me do that?
Right. So, like, on top of being overprotective, you know, for narcissists, overprotection is about control and not out of true concern.
Yep.
It's not there to be like, I want you to feel better. I want you to be okay. They want it to be, I want to be the only one that can make you feel comfortable. I want to be the one and the only one who will be your person, who will be your comfort. And that's a way that they start to isolate you.
Yeah.
And that's a way that they start to remove you from your friend groups, because they will put it in your head. Do you remember that one time that I got you out of the anxiety attack? I'm the only one that can do it. And because you're in such a vulnerable state, you know, and it doesn't have to be just anxiety attacks. It can be, you know, you can be upset about a death of a family member, and you can calm them and comfort them, and then utilize that and be like, well, I'm your person. I'm the one that you come to when you are sad and upset, and then I'm the one that you come to when you're happy and you want to talk about your happiness, and they start to isolate you.
My ex-husband was great
at isolation.
It was love bombing in the beginning, and then it was withholding, so you become dependent. You're like, I gotta get to that high that I felt when I was getting the attention and getting the love from your person, and then all of a sudden they would withhold it.
Yep.
And it was days, if not weeks, of just a war, basically, that you felt within you, like, what did I do wrong? And you're questioning your own self-worth, and you're questioning yourself as a person.
And you start breaking yourself down.
Yep. And you're like, I'm gonna change this to make it better, because then he'll give me that attention, he'll give me that love and affection, and then he will for a little bit, and then it's, well, if you want this, you're not going to hang out with that person,
right?
Or
if you really want me to love you, because it's got to be on their terms. If you, like, during that time, so they love bombed you, and now you're dependent on that, and they've taken it away. You tell them, hey, I'm gonna go out with so and so. They'd be like, oh, so you don't want to hang out? You don't want to watch a movie together? You don't want to do this? Like, I thought we could have a night to ourselves. Boom. You immediately cancel your plans, because they're finally giving you what you want. They're finally giving you that love and affection that you craved.
Or they'd be like, okay, go ahead, great. And then you go do exactly what you said you were going to go do with their knowledge. And when you get back, it is, what the fuck?
Right.
Where were you? What were you doing? Who were you talking to?
I had a night plan for us.
Like, I made dinner for us. That was news to me. Like, I didn't know.
Right. How am I supposed to know what it is that you're thinking planning about if you don't communicate it with me? It's all a manipulation tactic. And we are running out of time, but I think the last and final thing that we really wanted to touch on is weaponized incompetence. And people struggle with this concept, because especially younger couples, I feel like, struggle with this concept, because, you know, we don't have home ec anymore in school. You know,
I love that class.
I know. I never received it. Like, I was one of the ones that didn't get it. So I feel like, and I know that several other people that I know also feel this way. Weaponized incompetence is acting like you cannot do something so that you no longer have to do it because your partner will do it for you. Younger couples, and thankfully a lot of young women, young people, are starting to kind of recognize what this is and put their foot down. But with my generation and with Lacey's generation, a lot of us, when we got into relationships, our significant other we would ask them, do the dishes, please. You know, we don't have a dishwasher, please do the dishes. And they'll do them, but they'll do them shittily. and they'll shittily they'll do them terribly, and there'll still be food stuff on them, and then we go back and we do them, and we just assume, okay, they had one off, and then they do it again, and then we say, hey, can I show you how to do this? And then they go, yeah, okay. You show them. The next time they do the same thing. Can I show you how to do this? You show them again. They do them a third time. They do it again. You immediately are like, I'll just do them.
Yep.
And it's not just dishes. It's laundry. It's cleaning the house. It's cleaning the bathroom.
Taking care of the kids.
Doing
the homework with them. It is, I'm not good at it, or I don't know how to do it.
I can't do it as well as you. I can't do it.
They're validating you and how well you do it. They boost you up. You're like, you do such a great job. I love how you fold the towels this way. I love how our laundry smells so fresh. I love how you cook dinner so well.
I can't do it as well as you. Why don't you just take on that task? And they'll try to hide it by, I'll just do the yard work.
Yeah.
Or I'll just do all of the outside stuff.
But then when it comes to doing those outside stuff,
you do them so well.
Why aren't you out here helping me? Like, you
Right.
could be doing this while I do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in my marriage, it was like, I worked a full-time job. I also went back to school. So I was working a full-time job in school and taking care of 2 children. And while doing all of that, I was running my kids to and from their activities.
Doctor's appointments, dentist appointments.
Their extracurriculars. I was coming home, making sure dinner was done, doing the dishes, all the while, like, running around with my head chopped off.
And still having to be their person, having to be that narcissist person and be their therapist, their mother, their maid. I mean, back to this freaking song that we are listening to and women are relating to so wholeheartedly. We are doing all of these things because they feel like
they sit down and do nothing.
They feel like they shouldn't have to.
Yep.
They are handed the silver spoon.
They make the money.
They make the money. And even sometimes then they don't make the money.
No.
I mean, it's crazy and it needs to stop.
And there's, and some of us who were on the unfortunate end of not only getting that toxic trait abuse, the mental and emotional, but also the physical side of things.
And luckily, I was not a part of that. I never had to deal with a physically abusive relationship. And, I'm so thankful for that, because who knows what I would have done at that point. I mean, I was already checked out anyways, but, and I mean, I don't know how many times I've told Lacey in a freaking day how strong she is and how amazing she is, that she's gone through all of this and come out on the other end, but it is not without scars, and it is not without struggle.
And I think the toxic traits that I have are learned behaviors to survive.
Absolutely.
From the toxic personalities I've come across in my life.
And breaking those walls down is hard.
Yeah.
So
unlearning toxic behaviors and unlearning patterns does not happen overnight. It is a constant,
and you shouldn't expect it to happen overnight. No. I think the big thing that we want people to take away from this podcast, this
episode,
I think
next 3.
I think even just this in general, us talking openly and honestly about our mental health and about what things we've gone through and feel. I think a big part of this is you are seen, you are heard.
Yep.
You're not alone. And
don't hesitate to reach out, because
we will answer any messages, any questions.
And not just us, but to your tribe as well, because there is a good chance that there's somebody in your tribe also suffering silently.
Absolutely. And I mean, last thing, I think, I'm in school and I just had this talk with a counselor, and in one of my classes she came in to talk about suicide prevention and the idea of suicide and how to see it in people. And you're not always going to see it, and please don't ever take it to heart if that does happen to somebody you love and somebody you are close to. Sometimes people do suffer silently, but the fear of talking to somebody about it, if you do recognize it in somebody else, that mirror syndrome, your fear that they're going to recognize it in you might save them.
Yep.
And it might save you. So don't be afraid to reach out to people. find your person that you have an unhealthy attachment with. Being unhinged, being red flags, it's okay as long as you recognize them and you work every day. You never stop to try to get yourself better.
It's going to be a lifelong
Struggle.
process. It just one day it does not be like, oh, I'm healed. There's no end to the trauma from physical abuse, mental abuse, emotional abuse, those toxic people and the narcissistic people that come in and that leave the scars. There's no end in healing, as there should be.
No.
Even if you haven't had that trauma to such a degree, you're gonna have trauma of some sort.
Right. And it doesn't matter what it is, and it doesn't matter who you are.
Trauma is trauma.
Trauma is trauma, and whatever you feel is valid.
Yes.
What you can't do, and what you've said perfectly, is you cannot live there in that trauma. It will eat you up. It will spit you out, and then go back for seconds. There is no way that anybody can just forget their trauma and leave it behind fully.
I've had 2 failed suicide attempts.
Thank God.
Thank God. There's some days, even like I wake up every day wishing I hadn't, and that's my trauma I have to work through. But with having those 2 failed suicide attempts, I feel comes a lot of knowledge and experience and understanding, that it may not be okay today, but tomorrow's a new day. It's always a fresh start.
I've got so many days ahead of me that something amazing could happen.
You have survived 100% of your worst days.
Absolutely.
Let's keep that goal going.
Absolutely. Well, let's stay at 100%, ladies and gentlemen. So with that,
next week is?
Yes, next week we are going to talk about toxic traits in women. And I feel like we touched on it some today, but we're going to go more in depth with it. We focused a lot on men, and I feel like the disclaimer needs to be put out there. It is not all men.
Nope.
But it's a lot of them. And it's enough of them that it needs to be talked about. Yep. But it's not all men. It's not all women. It's not all people.
Nope. I think there's, like I said, everybody has toxic traits. Everybody does. But it's recognizing that trait when it pops up, going, oh, that's not good. Let's
reevaluate that one.
Yeah. And doing better, like recognizing it while it happens.
Absolutely. So that'll be next week. We record on Wednesdays. We try to publish Wednesday nights as long as we can get the editing done. So keep with us, and
we'll see you then.
We'll see you then. Stay unhinged.
Try not to stay so much of a red flag.
It's a lot of fun though.
It is. All right. Have a great night.